Welcome back to Home Sweet Home Cooking. I am your host. I'm in my mother's kitchen as always. My mom is sitting this one out, but say hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Today is about a week for exactly a week before Valentine's Day. So I am going to cook my girlfriend a cake for Valentine's Day, and it is going to be a red velvet Valentine. It's basically just going to be a heart-shaped red velvet cake. So you don't have to make it into a heart shape. You can just do this stacked with tears, same recipe. I'm just using different pans. So follow along for how either way you want to make this. The complete ingredient list is, well, you're going to need some pans, and you want to spray them with some vegetable oil, or I'm just using the non-cooked spray vegetable oil stuff. 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, not self-rising, make sure it's all-purpose. 1.5 cups of sugar. I've got a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of cocoa powder. I've got a 1.5 cups of vegetable oil back here, a cup of buttermilk. I've got 2 eggs. I've got 1 whole bottle, 1 ounce of red food coloring. And it calls for actually a teaspoon of distilled vinegar and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's just for the batter, for the cake. The frosting is a cream cheese frosting. It's 1 pound of cream cheese, softened, which, yeah, I'm glad we got that other one out because it's a whole pound. So it's a pound of cream cheese, 4 cups of powdered sugar, 2 sticks of butter, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. These need to be at room temperature, so we've had these sitting out for a while as my mom's cutting into the corner of the screen, trying to get to the chair. So, real easy. You're going to mix dry to dry, wet to wet, and then combine them. So I already have these pre-measured. Flour and the sugar are the dries. Baking soda, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and cocoa powder. I'm just going to give those a mix together, just to combine them. So when you mix the dry to the wet, it's kind of already mixed a little bit through, and you're not putting all of it in one spot. Now for the wet, as I say, is 1.5 cups of oil. 1 cup of buttermilk,
The oil's supposed to be in the bowl now.
Yeah, I spilled a little bit. Of course she's going to point that out. You wouldn't have seen that on camera. Thanks, Ma.
You're welcome.
2 eggs. Little does she know I'm just going to run it off to the floor so she can clean that later. So laugh while she can.
Maybe I'll save it for you and have you clean the floor.
The whole 1 ounce of food coloring. So that's basically the whole bottle. Don't get it on you, the stuff stains. 1 teaspoon of distilled white vinegar. Hey, don't ask, it's a southern thing. They do have a vinegar cake down here in the south.
I've had cakes made of vinegar, but I can't remember which ones they were.
Well, there's one that's actually called vinegar cake. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're using the imitation because, you know, we're cheap. I'm sorry, frugal. And then that's it. Then you mix. Oh, you can also chop cover this when it's done with chopped nuts. So now I'm going to get this mixed together. It's not going to mix the greatest like this because it's oil and liquid, but you want to get it to start to come together to that homogeneous color, and then slowly add in your flour. You can use a hand mixer if you want, you can use a stand mixer if you want, or you can just whisk it in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you use because you're going to get it on the counter. At least I'm going to.
Well, then the cake won't stick on it. Because you got your oil and you got your flour.
Yeah. Alright, I just want to mix it until, you don't want to over mix it, you just want to get it till you don't see any more dry white flour, which is pretty easy seeing this is a red batter. That's it. Don't over mix it. You don't want gluten to form, you're not making bread, you're making a cake. And I suppose I should mention what temperature the oven should be preheating to, which I don't actually have started yet.
I'll do it.
Okay. You can just walk in front of the camera.
I will, and you can cut me out.
No, we'll leave you in. 350 degrees, Mom. Alright, so I'm just going to spread this out. I'm going to try to get this as evenly as I can into these two pans. They're as close as I can get to matching up the sides. I'll have a little bit of trimming to do. But as far as height-wise, I want to get them about the same height when they're done. So I want the pans to have about the same height of batter in them, in the pan. And I might not be able to do what I want with this. It's going to be hard to shape, but I might not be able to cut it and stack it like I wanted to, which I might not be able to with this. It just might be a single layer, which is fine. It's like, say, it's just a little cheesy, heart-shaped Valentine's cake. Take a little bit out of this one, I think. Deposit it over there, and there we go. Now I've got some red batter on the counter. Alright, that looks like that'll work. Got that in. Now once it's preheated, it's going to go in for, let's see here, 30 minutes. You can do the toothpick test, make sure the toothpick comes out clean in the center, and we'll get them out, we'll get them on the cooling rack, get them cooled, then we'll have to get them out of the pans. We'll be back in a bit. 30 minutes, cakes are out of the oven, they passed the toothpick test. Not the taste test. It's been about 15 minutes since they're out, so I'm going to try to get them out of these pans. And the easiest way I found to do that is using a plate. So what I'm going to do is take a plate, put it on the top of the pan, turn it upside down, and voila, comes right out. And then what I'll do is I'll take a piece of parchment paper or wax paper. I'm using another second plate just for now to get it back over in one piece. And then I'm just going to slide it off back onto the cooling rack. And cross my fingers that it does it again with the other cake. I felt it slide. And voila. And a piece of parchment paper or wax paper. Flip it over. And I'm just using the wax paper basically so it slides back onto the cooling rack and so it doesn't push down into the wires. We really don't have, because I'm making this a longer cake, it's going to be 13.5 inches by 13.5 inches. We don't have anything big enough, so I took a box and I cut it so it's down into 3 layers where I folded them together where it's nice and sturdy. Tape them so that it's sturdy, not going anywhere, and I covered it with some tin foil, and we'll just put the cake on top of this. It's cheap, poor man's version of doing it. You can buy it. I could have just done it on this big cutting board and taken the could have taken the cutting board home, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to use this because when I'm done I can toss it. We got to let these finish cooling, and we're going to go get my dad from dialysis here shortly. So these will be plenty cool by that time, and we'll go ahead and start with the frosting. So we'll be back when these are cool and ready to frost. Now, if you're doing this for a layered cake, you don't want to, instead of dividing into 2 pans, you divide it into 3 pans, and then you'd layer 3 rounds. So you use 3 round pans, 9-inch or probably 8-inch with this one. You get a little bit thicker. But because I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, it's only going to fit 2 pans. That's why I split it amongst 2 instead of 3. So if you're stacking them for height, it's 3 pans round. I just want to mention that because I did forget to say that earlier. So I'll be back and get these frosted here in a few moments. The cakes have been cooled. It is time to get them finished and set so we can frost them. Now I've got this, I know these are about 13.5 by 13.5, so I've got my sheet at about 16 by 16. So I'm going to kind of set it towards the edge there, hopefully leaving myself enough room on both sides. Now to finish the heart for the Valentine's Day, you can cut this in half as close to perfect as I can get it. Just wanted to stick to the wax paper. That's okay. Be very careful. Bring it up now just a little bit. little more centered. But once you get it there, that's your heart. So now you're gonna just make your frosting and frost it. So for the frosting, it calls for 4 cups of powdered sugar, which I have measured out. It calls for a pound of cream cheese, which is 2 8-ounce blocks at room temperature. And it's going to call for some butter. It calls for 2 sticks of butter. So get those in there in just a second. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to do the softs and then I'm going to add the powdered sugar to it and hopefully keep the mess down as much as I can. No guarantees on that. Alright, so I'm going to get these creamed together and I'll make a mess out of that before I come back to you guys and make a mess out of the powdered sugar. Yeah, she's over there smiling. Alright, the butter and the cream cheese are incorporated together, so there's going to be no clumps of those in just throughout the frosting. So now I'm going to bring this back and slowly add this and throw it everywhere. Alright, it is smooth and creamy. And you're just going to spread it on there. Be careful not to break the crumbs through the icing. Lay it on as thick as you want. I'm going to have plenty for this because this is actually supposed to be for 3 layers cake, which is fine. This goes fantastic on graham crackers, just the way it is. Plus my mom also made a chocolate cake, so we can actually coat that with cream cheese frosting too if she wants. Now if you're doing a layer cake, you would do the center layer like this. You put 1 piece down, 1 of the rounds down, round side down, so it'll be upside down. And then you do just the top. You lay your second one on, upside down, do the top, and you lay your third one on, right side up, I think, and do the top. And then you go around the outside for layers. But like I said, we're not doing that. We're just going to do a single layer because that's really all the cake pans that I had. And honestly, all the patience that I had.
Frosting's good.
She likes the frosting. She's over there licking a beater. So now, I'm going to go around the outside of this bad boy. And my girlfriend likes frosting, so I'm laying it on kind of thick here. She's a big fan of this cream cheese frosting. But I'll get this finished and we'll come back and take a look at it once it's completely frosted. Alright folks, there it is. There's my red velvet Valentine. Nothing special, nothing fancy. But if you wanted to add some red food color to the frosting that's left and go ahead and decorate it, write Happy Valentine's Day, write little hearts on it, maybe some flowers, that's up to you, but I'm not a fancy guy. This is good enough for me and my family and my girlfriend, so that's it for this episode. Please stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe, and see what kind of mess we're going to get into next week. Thank you.